The CFL is already trying to poach Browns rookie Shedeur Sanders. Should the Browns rookie QB not make it in the NFL, Canada stands on guard for he. The list of slights for rookie NFL quarterback Shedeur Sanders just continues to grow. First, he dropped all the way into the 5th round, no one harmed overall, to the Cleveland Browns after being projected as the potential no one harmed overall pick ahead of the 2025 NFL Draft. And now he's already being stalked by other lower leagues. On Friday, NFL media's Ian Rappaport revealed the Canadian Football League's Toronto Argonauts have claimed the exclusive negotiating rights for the 23-year-old Cleveland passer if he were to ever consider crossing the northern border. The CFL allows teams to pick players outside the league they want to have exclusive access to if there were ever an opportunity to try and sign them to a contract. In layman's terms, they call first dibs on NFL rejects. Shedeur Sanders has options if his NFL career doesn't pan out. The CFL's website listed Sanders among 8 other notable low-caliber NFL players, including QBs Max Duggan, Battlehawks UFL, Trey Lance, Chargers, Ian Book, Chiefs, Diego Pavia, Vanderbilt, NCAA, Caden Slovis, Texans, wide receiver Chase Claypool, Bills, defensive back Sidney Brown, NCAA, stallion back Sidney Poole, Master Chief Sammy Calls, and TFL Shepard, defensive backs Sidney Calls. Yep. Never say never is how CFL writer Marshall Ferguson drew up the possibility of Sanders departing the NFL for Canada at some point. He's not wrong. Sanders, despite his abilities and strong showing at Browns OTAs, already has problems off the field he's having to navigate. He was reportedly pulled over twice by law enforcement in the space of 2 weeks for speeding in his vehicle in June. In one instance, he was clocked going over 100 miles per hour, and he did not show up to his arraignment for the previous incident. That's not the kind of character an NFL team wants on its roster. Should Sanders be beat out by any of the other 4 QBs Cleveland has on its roster, Deshaun Watson, Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, Dylan Gabriel, then he could very well be a beggar and not a chooser with regard to his football future. Perhaps the CFL could be a blessing in disguise for the young Sanders, and maybe a much-needed lesson in humility, too. Shedeur Sanders stood on the training field of the Cleveland Browns practice facility, sweat gleaming on his brow under the midsummer Ohio sun. The rookie quarterback had just nailed his 3rd deep ball in a row during drills, earning an approving nod from the offensive coordinator. It had been a long road. 2 standout seasons at Colorado under the coaching of his legendary father, Deion Sanders, followed by endless speculation leading up to the draft. Critics had questioned whether Shedeur could transition to the NFL. But now, in the thick of training camp, those doubts were evaporating like breath on a cold day, like the kind they had in Canada. That thought would have made no sense to him except for the odd message that had arrived the night before. It came on private signal, through Instagram of all places. The account had no profile picture, no posts, and 1 follower. The message was cryptic. QB1, there's a bigger legacy to write. Let's talk. He shouted to his agent. She laughed. Probably some kid playing Madden in Saskatoon. But the next morning, a man in a charcoal suit and a red scarf was waiting outside the facility. No credentials, no media badge, just waiting, like a ghost at the gates. Shedeur didn't stop, but the man only said one thing as he passed. Warren Moon didn't wait for an invitation either. That stopped him cold. Later that night, after curfew, Shedeur found himself back in the players' lounge, scrolling through highlights from Warren Moon's days with the Edmonton Eskimos. 5 Grey Cups, legendary status. The first black quarterback inducted into both the CFL and Pro Football Hall of Fame. And that's when the phone call came. Unknown number. Is this Shedeur Sanders? The voice asked. Calm, smooth, with a trace of Montreal French. Depends who's asking. My name is Thierry Hamelin. I represent the Montreal Alouettes. You may have heard of us. Shedeur blinked. You're joking. This is the CFL calling now. We don't joke about quarterbacks up north, Mr. Sanders. I watch you torch USC. I watch you command that locker room in Boulder. And I'm watching now as you sit 2nd string behind a quarterback whose stat line wouldn't even get him past security in Calgary. Shedeur didn't respond. The nerve. Look, Hamlin continued, Montreal is different. This isn't your dad's league. Or yours, for that matter. But if you're serious about being the man, not just the kid with the name, then maybe it's time to lead somewhere you're truly needed. You know, I just signed with Cleveland. We know everything. We also know the NFL is a machine that grinds talent into tape. You really think I'd leave the league for the CFL? No, Hamlin said calmly. But I think if you ever wanted to lead a nation, not a franchise, a nation of fans who remember Flutie, Moon, Garcia, you'd know where to find us. The call ended. For days it haunted Shedeur. His father didn't say much when he told him, just nodded with that half smile of his. Everyone wants the kid. Ain't that something? By the end of week 2, rumors had already begun. Local reporters started throwing around questions. Did you meet with the CFL? Is Shedeur considering a cross-border move? The Browns PR team laughed it off. But behind closed doors, the front office wasn't laughing. Canada's poaching a first-round rookie? That was war. The NFL's legal team fired warning shots to the CFL. Tampering was the word floating through the smoke. But Canada didn't flinch. The Alouettes released a cryptic tweet. Some players want to be remembered, some want to be legend. Red North, QB1. The fan base exploded. It wasn't just about one player anymore. It was about identity. For a league constantly in the NFL's shadow, snagging a rising American star wasn't just ambition, it was a revolution. And the kicker? Montreal offered Shedeur partial franchise ownership. Outrageous for a 21-year-old rookie. Even more outrageous considering he hadn't played a snap in their league. But this was Shedeur Sanders, and he wasn't just a quarterback. He was a brand. Then came the press conference. Shedeur sat at the podium, flanked by the Browns GM and head coach. The room buzzed like a hornet's nest. A reporter asked the question, "So, Shedeur, are you going to Canada?" And I don't know if I could answer that and answer, So, Shedeur, are you going to Canada? He looked out at the cameras, the flashing lights, the rows of doubters and believers. I love this city, he began. I love my teammates. I came to Cleveland to win, but I also believe in changing the game. The game isn't just stats and contracts. It's culture. And wherever I can lead with purpose, that's where I'll go. Gasps. The GM leaned forward in a half panic. Just to clarify, Shedeur is fully committed to the Browns? But Shedeur raised a hand gently. I'm here, he said, but they're watching. Everyone is. And just like that, the future of football had a new subplot.